Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Football House on House Enterprise. I'm Sam Basil, joined alongside Will Tondo, Jake Zimmer, and it seems like from a bunker 12 miles underground, Cole Hughes. Hope everyone's doing well. Cole's having a little internet connectivity issues, but we're going through our topics. Oh, there you are. We're going through our topics.
He's resurfaced.
I am struggling over here, boys. I don't know what's going on.
Do you know what year it is? It is 2024. The Mets are about to be knocked out of the playoffs.
Louisville has just lost to Notre Dame.
Texas is back. Officially.
Texas is back. Still has not won a national championship. All right, so now that we've got Cole back from his expedition to the center of the earth, we are going through our picks for Week 6. Talking about a lot of big headlines that we have not gotten a chance to talk about while we've been, kind of on our little vacay remote videos over these past couple weeks, and just getting back into the swing of college football. It's October, it's a big month. NBA starting back up, NHL starting back up. We've got the pennant chase over in Major League Baseball. But things are really heating up in the college football world. So let's go right through it, starting off with our latest top 25. A little bit of a surprise here. Obviously the biggest game of last week was Alabama-Georgia. Alabama took that one in a nail-biter. Crazy touchdown at the end. I was surprised here. I had Alabama number 1. I just felt like, they've got the strongest win of anybody in the field right now. I thought that was enough to put them up top, but it seems like you guys disagreed, and Texas remains our number 1 team. As Georgia loses to Alabama, they kind of fall out of that spot and are replaced by Tennessee in the top 4. And then moving down, Ole Miss falling, Utah falling, Louisville falling, and Boise State back in the poll, and Indiana, they're our 25th team. So, guys, aside from what I just went over here, anything else that really jumped out to you?
No, it's safe to say Alabama, Georgia, probably at this moment, game of the year. I think it's probably the biggest win as well. But just like we said, I forgot, when Georgia kicked things off, it's like, I don't think Texas has done anything to lose yet that number 1 spot. And then on the flip side, the fact that they have 2 quarterbacks that could be the number 1 overall pick and perform at that level, it's pretty seamless. Like if Archie has been shaky, and we haven't seen, what they're going to do in the future when Quinn comes back and, other tougher talent, they haven't done anything to lose themselves out of that spot. But no discredit to Alabama. That was an incredible performance and kind of unexpected. I think we all had Georgia covering last week. I forgot if it was 2 or 3 points. So to see that loss, or no, you had Alabama. Someone had Alabama.
Cole and I both had Alabama to cover. But no,
not straight win.
I think Cole had money line. I did not. I did not take money line. That was one of those that legitimately could have gone either way had Georgia not dug themselves into such a big hole, though. Like, I do think you made a statement game of the year potentially. You ready for something outrageous? I think that could have been the game of the last 4 or 5 years. Depending on how this CFP shakes out, like if they meet again and there's more fireworks, we could look back and say, holy shit, like that was the start of something just blossoming for this college football playoff field. I don't know. I feel like we have one of those kind of legacy games on our hands for just how this stacks up in the college football world.
If I can make a comparison, talking about comparing games from the last 4 to 5 years, sure. If that's your pick, I couldn't really disagree with you. But if I had to pick another one, and I think it's a very similar situation, but now the result becomes very different now that we're in the 12-team football playoff era, is Alabama, Tennessee a couple years back. Actually, to be specific, 2 years back. So Tennessee, they're coming in as number 3. They win a thriller against Alabama. Oh, sorry, they were number 6. They win a thriller against Alabama, 52-49. automatically bumps themselves into the college football, playoff conversation.
They get goalposts out of the stadium. They did all that. So that was insane. Totally insane.
Then they get 2 more wins. They end up being number 1 in the country, heading into a matchup with Georgia. They lose to Georgia 27-13. They fall to number 5, and then they can't make their way back up. But like we're seeing here, right? Georgia, top 4 team, they fall out of the top 4 after this really close loss to, it's a toss-up, but they lose to a really good Alabama team. Where Tennessee, it's a fatal blow. Now in a 12-team playoff, it's just, Georgia's losing the opportunity for an auto bid and a bye. So I just think that's a really interesting, tactical change that really, completely puts a different perspective on Georgia's season, where we'd be talking about this 2 years ago or even 1 year ago as this was the death blow for the 2024 Bulldogs. Like, this is just a bump in the road for a team that's, we still feel like, you guys might disagree, but, a team that we still feel like will make the college football playoff. So I was just curious as to how you guys felt about that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is very simply a bump in the road. And they fall out of the top 4, but realistically, are we banking that Texas, Alabama, Ohio State, Tennessee go undefeated the rest of the year? All of them? One of them's going to lose. One of them is going to lose some stinker of a game, or maybe not even a stinker, just like they're going to play a good team. Like, let's look at Texas's schedule. They have, they have Georgia in 2 weeks, right? So something's going to have to give. If Georgia's serious, that's a game that if Georgia loses, okay, then it's time to start saying, all right, where does Georgia really fall into this? They deserve to be a top 10 or something else, You
just gave that lineup, and there's a team that you kind of forgot in that, Tennessee.
Yeah, it's true. What happens with Tennessee? That's a very, very good point.
Even when we're talking about it, it's okay, if things shake out as is, Texas being the number 1 seed, probably Alabama sitting at that 5 or 6, because just if, with the resume and Georgia up there as well, where does Tennessee fit into that mix? I think they could be a number 5. I think they also could challenge Texas to win the SEC as well. I think Texas does win it, but we can't sleep on what Nico's doing over there in Tennessee, and what the Vols are as a whole.
We have Tennessee on October 19th. We have Alabama at Tennessee, and we have Texas playing Georgia. That could be that is a season-defining day for college football, and it comes in 2 weeks. Crazy stuff.
Would you argue? I don't even know how to we'd have to do a lot of research to figure this out. But could that be one of the most stacked SEC slates in recent history?
It's got to be. This was remember when the college football schedule came out in August, and everyone's like, "Oh, the wedding's on October 19th. I can't go." It's a really big day for college football. That is the day. That is absolutely the day that people were pointing to.
Absolutely. Let's get into before we do that, let's get into just my college football playoff field. So pretty much what we were talking about, I had Alabama number 1, so I have them as the number 1 seed in this field. My top 4 seeds are changing once again. Ohio State's still number 2, Miami's still number 3, and then BYU climbs into the mix after Utah takes that loss. Again, super shaky. The Big 12 is just all over the place. BYU could be out of this spot by Sunday. And then I've got Boise State at number 12 as the Group of 5 representative, which goes into my Group of 5 bubble for this week. So Boise State highlighted in red. They are the current rep. Again, not a lot of change, joined by James Madison, Navy, and UNLV, who even after the departure of their starting quarterback, Matt Sluka, after a dispute over, NIL money that he was promised for transferring to UNLV from Holy Cross, still managed to get the win. Hajj Malik Williams came in, stepped in, got a really solid, dominant win over Fresno State, 59-14. We really thought, I think us on this podcast and just the college football world in general thought that Sluka's departure could be, kind of the end of UNLV's campaign in the Mountain West and for the playoff. But I mean, for them to come out and do this and drop 59 points on drop 59 points on Fresno State. I mean, what does that say about this team?
UNILV, that guy just lost so much money, and that is something where he probably thought, and again, I get it. UNLV not promising. We don't know the full story of stuff. Like if you were promised something and not receiving it, fine, but you just look like a complete asshat, quitting your team, and now you are replaceable. Next man up, they came in, they dropped 59 points against Fresno State. If they make it to the college football playoffs, you might not have a job next year. You might be playing for the Bryan Bulldogs, right? It is, and I'll take them, but we don't have that money to pay. But you put yourself and your team in a crap position, and they came out on top.
Yeah. I agree, and I've sat here on this show, and I said it on the video last week. Hajj-Malik Williams he's no fluke here. They brought in two really good quarterbacks at the FCS level with a purpose, and that was so they could compete against each other. I have loved Hajj-Malik Williams' games while he was at Campbell. He left their all-time leader in, I'm going to read this off, passing yards and touchdowns, all-time, right? This is for a run-and-gun quarterback, too. So to leave that program that Mike Minter has kind of built from scratch, right? Like Campbell has been good in previous years, but I don't think they've been as good as they have until Mike Minter came in. It's that Mike Minter who was a Hall of Famer for the Carolina Panthers. It's a breeding ground for good quarterbacks. And I think the second Hajj-Malik Williams got there, I'm like, shit, he can win that job, even though Sluka's been really good at Holy Cross. He had a fine career there. Tondo's exactly right. It's the next man up. This is a guy that came in at halftime when UNLV was routing one of I don't know. It was it must have been Utah Tech at this point. He came in at halftime and he led the team in rushing yards that game. He had like over 100 rushing yards. It's a wagon. You can't stop it, and you put an athletic QB in there that's arguably more athletic than the guy that was there before with just as good of an arm, probably the same football IQ. I'm frankly disappointed that UNLV is not in our top 25 right now. The AP put them 25. I put them at 24, 25. I can't remember. I think it was 25. I'm frankly a little disappointed we didn't give them that nod because this is a team that deserves it. And I think they're going to show it against Oregon State. They're going to show it in a loaded Mountain West slate this year. Never been better. It's a new Pac-12. I'm Team UNLV this year.
Speaking of Pac-12, you think Gonzaga will ever field a football team?
Oh, they should. They should.
They should. If Georgetown has football, I think, and same with Villanova, give me Gonzaga football. Give me the.
Then you got to put at that point, give us Creighton football. Give us BU football back, man. It's been 50 years. Give BU a football team.
Providence College football.
Providence College. I love it. But
Providence College doesn't even have a baseball team.
Exactly. Wow. They notoriously do not have a baseball team. Isn't that a travesty? They did add golf this year, though. Is that exciting?
It would be a good baseball team.
It would.
For reference, Gonzaga football, they have not fielded a team since 1941. Their all-time record was pretty good. They were 130. I mean, it was a winning record. They were
you reneged it.
They were 134 and 99 with 20 ties. That is the most pre-1950 football stat ever. And their biggest rival, Idaho. So, Idaho's a pretty decent team.
World War II wiped out that team.
Yeah, it looks like it. But yeah, they went on a hiatus. They did. They went on a hiatus during World War II, and the administration. They were already in financial difficulty, so the administration decided not to resume the program after the war.
Whatever happened to Basil's facts that you used to post up on this show? That was a good Basil fact.
That's my Basil fact. That's my Basil fact of the week right there.
I like it.
My quick thought about UNLV and the whole Sluka situation is, I think the fact that UNLV came out and got a really good win looks bad for Sluka.
Definitely.
At the same time, I'm gonna give the kid the benefit of the doubt. Like if he was promised this money, and again, promise has so many different ways of it could be handshake, it could be a text from a coach that was trying to recruit him, it could be just being like, oh hey, you have the possibility to make $100,000, or it could have been something in writing, like something like legally binding that Sluka feels like UNLV is not living up to. I think it looks tough for him, especially when he's trying to go to his next spot, because I'm sure a lot of these coaches might think that doesn't show like a good team mentality. It might hurt his chances of making it to the NFL, which is another reason why he could have made this jump into FBS. But at the same time, like if you're promising players NIL money, you have to deliver. And
it's a lose-lose for both. It's
Yeah,
a lose-lose for both.
This is
because
not a
it's
good
like,
situation.
I am all for paying the players. I respect his decision, but also on the flip side, like you can't keep you can't expect to keep a team on hostage, because like you'll be replaced.
Absolutely.
And that's the tough part.
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
just not ready to
kind of
paint
my whole like take on this is, I get it. You want to get paid, right? And especially if a coach, which is the leading contender in reports right now, if a coach says to you, "Hey, you're going to make $100,000," that's pretty good, right? And I'm thinking, yeah, I want 6 figures. You have a revelation here.
Are the Mets back?
Oh no, fucking way! Are you serious?
Top of the 9th. Oh,
Who did it?
I thought it was going to be
Alonso,
something
home
about
run.
UNLV, and I was immature enough to think it was about UNLV here.
We're switching to the baseball house real quick. Oh, who else would it be? Pete Alonso, baby. Taking the Mets to the National League Division Series, getting that big contract, and staying in New York for
on the other side.
No. All right. Anyway, we're moving on after that. Anyway, let's get into our cards for this week. Starting off with you, Mr. Tondo. You're our top dog. Lately.
Yeah.
Let's see what you've got. Give us everything plus your locks, and then hold off on your game of the week.
Absolutely. So we'll kick it off. Obviously, I love UNLV to win this game. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it running. I do like Syracuse to cover it, though. 6.5 points. I think it'll be a close matchup. Syracuse has done, pretty well, and it's obviously an ACC matchup. So I like the points to be covered, but give me UNLV to win. Same goes for Iowa. Iowa plus 20, but Ohio State, you got to remain in the top 4. You cannot have a dud loss or a 7-point or whatever the case is. So give me Ohio State to win. Some overlap with Zimmer, so I enjoyed some of his card, and also had some of these where the spreads were a little bit
you'd never
higher.
say that. Wow.
I was saying to Basil, I was like, I'm a little worrisome, but it's okay. I had a few of these picks written down before, so the spreads were a little bit higher, but now adjusted. Give me Pitt minus 2.5 versus UNC, USC minus 8 versus Minnesota. I think that's very much a low spread right there. Originally, I thought this was going to be our game of the week, this Michigan-Washington matchup. I like Michigan to cover 2.5. I'm not committed on a win or loss just there. And then our armed forces, Navy minus 9.5 versus Air Force. I sent the TikTok to the guys earlier this week, and if everything shakes out properly, Army Navy is going to be a potential bid for that 12 spot as well. I think Navy could sneak into the playoffs, so I'll keep them rolling. Navy minus 9.5. My FCS lock, good old Bryant Brown showdown. Old Coach Perry making his return back to Bernie Stadium in Smithfield. Give me the over 44.5. Bryant is not good to win. I don't believe so.
Wow.
And my lock of the week, anybody against Florida State, especially a team like Clemson, 14.5. I think they blow by at least 21 points. Clemson is the team to beat in the ACC, and Florida State is not.
Love it. Navy, Air Force, the first leg of the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. That is the 3-team trophy between Army, Navy, and Air Force. So whoever beats 2 out of the 3 gets that trophy.
We got to field a better team for Citadel.
Yeah.
Get them in the mix.
And get Coast Guard Academy up to Division 1. All right. Yeah, I really like that card. I'll get into mine. Starting off, I've got IU -14 versus Northwestern. Northwestern playing in that very interesting temporary stadium in Chicago this year. And I really like the Hoosiers. They're 5-0. We have not really seen many great Indiana football teams in our lifetime, and I think this is a really special thing because I've been seeing, as someone who is just chronically online, I'm seeing a lot of reactions from Indiana fans, and it's like it means something. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really think Indiana football, people really ride that hard for Indiana football, but because it's such a basketball school, but people are excited. So I have the Hoosiers going -14 over Northwestern. Tight one here, Washington, home favorites versus Michigan. I have them -1.5. I think this is a really important win for the Huskies. They need to make a big splash in the Big Ten early, and I think a win against Michigan will do it. I've got Boston College money line versus Virginia. Road dogs, Boston College. Very interesting. I don't really see much out of Virginia that I like. So I think I'm going to go with the Eagles here. Pitt -2.5 versus UNC. UNC, they dropped a crucial game to James Madison this year. They gave up 70 points. Pitt last week, they beat Youngstown State. They dropped 70 points. They won 73-17. They're currently undefeated. The ACC, while I still think Miami's on top, I think Louisville's still got a chance. Like, it was crucial that Louisville's one loss so far, was out of conference, but I think there are a lot of teams that could kind of sneak in here and contend for the ACC. And I think Pitt is one of them, as long as they can cover -2.5 versus UNC. Navy, another team with college football playoff hopes. They're trying to win the American. They've got a real shot at it this year. Again, I've got them -9.5 versus Air Force. Brown, 2-0 to the start of the late Ivy League start to their 2024 campaign. I think that gives them a little rest, the legs needed to beat a 1-3 team like Bryant. So I've got them money line against the Bulldogs. My lock of the week, Tulane -16.5 versus UAB. UAB, not that good. And Tondo today told me, he feels like I haven't really given a lot of love to the Green Wave lately. So this is my showing for them. So I've got them -16.5. Cole, looks like Cole was called back to his
bunker.
lair 12 miles underground. So
he's a designated survivor tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep a low
and the Mets just scored another run, by the way. Oh my God.
Oh.
Mets are up 4-2 in the top of the ninth with 2 outs. For anybody that is not watching and is watching the Football House. If you're watching the Football House, by the way, over MLB playoffs right now, we've got 13 viewers right now. Just letting you know, we love you very much. Cole's looking like got a very similar card. Boston College money line versus Virginia. Ole Miss, South Carolina over 53.5. Toledo, some action -4.5 versus Miami of Ohio. Then he's got Rutgers +7 versus Nebraska. Nebraska, a feisty team, and Rutgers. This is like the feisty Big Ten Bowl right now. Coastal Carolina, still, another team out of the Sun Belt that if they can get it together and take down James Madison, I wouldn't count them out for the college football playoff. So he's got them a -5 over Old Dominion. USC -8 versus Minnesota, a new Big Ten matchup. Can we get, be interesting to see what kind of rivalry trophy we get out of, Minnesota, the Gophers versus USC and the Trojans. Someone in our comments give us some ideas there. Kansas, Arizona State over 50.5, and then Miami -10 versus Cal. Cal, really funny fan base on Twitter. If you have a chance to see them, they're really fired up about being in the ACC this season. Actually, crazy thing about Miami is it's taken their equipment crew like days to get across the country. I mean, that's like another one of those things that you haven't really. I don't think a lot of people have thought about. With the addition of these California teams to the Big Ten and the ACC, like it's now we've got these road crews moving this equipment 4,000 miles across the country.
And with these like trucking regulations and stuff, unless you have 2 drivers, you have to stop. Like they can only go 8 or 10 hours a day or whatever it is.
Absolutely. And it's just like
imagine that with other sports. I mean, I know football is obviously the most demanding in terms of equipment and everything, but other sports, it's like how much money are they spending for like cross country to do these travels, or your bowling team or some shit like that? It's
I got exposed to that with the PLL because they just packed their stuff up in a trailer truck, and this year they went from Louisville, Kentucky to Fairfield, Connecticut to San Diego in 3 days to Baltimore. It's like you're on one trailer.
Yeah, and it's like how do you practice at a time? Like you have to obviously get there for practice and everything the day before, so you're on a tight window.
It's crazy. All that shit too. It's crazy.
And it's like, the NFL does it. The NFL takes stuff to London. They take stuff to Germany.
Yeah, but that's $1 billion.
They're on an NFL budget, right? Like these schools are on like
hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. Miami's probably got a pretty good budget, but it's not.
You know who? Speaking NFL. Of that, there was a cool video. I believe it was Aer Lingus dropped it for the first game of the year. They did like a behind the scenes of all of the equipment transfers, and it was like they were planning for that for like a year, just in terms of like passports and customs and separate ports and all of this stuff for just one game. That's 6 hours, right? It's crazy.
Absolutely. And then going into his FCS and FBS locks of the week, he's got Montana moneyline, the Grizz, versus Weber State. And then his FBS lock of the week, Alabama -23 versus Vanderbilt. It's pretty good card. Jake, you've passed me in the standings.
Are you serious?
Yep, I'm down way at the bottom. Oops,
wow. Sorry. Where's your public shaming like I got?
Well, we're having some.
It was volume spraying.
Technical difficulties here. I don't have your card loaded up in the thing for some reason.
Oh. Totally not you being bitter after I passed.
No, yeah.
Like, oh no, I forgot your card.
All right, we're calling an audible here.
I can also just read it. You don't have to go crazy.
Yeah, you start reading your card, and then we can get into it. Sorry about that.
All right, a few of the same picks that Tondo had here. Navy -9 over Air Force. Navy 4-0, right? Like keep it going. They wiped the floor with UAB, who has similar metrics to Air Force. They can make a run at the Commander-in-Chief trophy. Navy, by the way, 41-18 against UAB. That was just total domination. So that was enough to get me to take them here. Oh, there we go. I like it. It's a utilized snipping tool. I like it. I'm taking Pitt over North Carolina here. And I thought about this. I did not take Pitt in the backyard brawl this year. I do not think Pitt is this fantastic team like a lot of people think they did. Like I know Cole was super high on Pitt. I think Tondo might have been again in the backyard brawl as well. I do think this is a like at face value, this is a toss-up, right? UNC's at home, but ultimately what this comes down to for me is Pitt averages 545 yards a game. That's 5th in the nation offensively. 8th in the nation in passing yards with 330. I just see that as too tough of a challenge for UNC, right? Who's middle of the pack. They're kind of trying to figure out what their identity is in a loaded ACC this year. I just think Pitt continues the streak here, puts up another really big game. The over's in play here. But I really do like Pitt to take on this 2.5 point spread here. Clemson against Florida State, not going to repeat it. Florida State sucks. They're making a quarterback change because DJU sucks, and maybe he's hurt too, but they're saying he's hurt. Whatever. USC minus 8.5 over Minnesota. Same kind of has been said already. I do think USC, on paper owns Minnesota in every single offensive category. Again, USC's defense is not that great, as we've established throughout the year, but I do think it's good enough to slow down Minnesota, even though they put up a good fight against Michigan. Arizona State and Kansas was another one. Like Kansas, for me, I just did not love them. I forgot if I ranked them at the beginning of the year, but very quickly they popped off they hopped off of it, not popped off. If they had popped off, they would have been in the top 20. No, Arizona State, for me, I do not like Kansas, number one. And then the betting metrics really come down to it. Kansas is the worst team in the nation against the spread this year. They have lost every game against the spread. Arizona State's 3-1. I think this is a shoo-in for ASU, right? They don't blow me away. Arizona State, I don't think will be up there with the best teams in the nation this fall, but I do think they will beat Kansas today, or this week, I should say. And then, the wild card here is App State versus Marshall, and this is kind of a stinker of a game, but App State is calling out to me here because none of these teams are really good. App State's coming off a good year. They went 6-3 last year. Marshall's coming off a bad year. Now, Marshall's the favorite here at home. The problem is App State's defense is atrocious, right? Like they have had just a very tough go of it the first couple weeks. They had a game canceled due to the hurricane last week. So they've been off for 3 weeks now. I would hope that's enough time for them to get their shit together defensively, right? Or I should 2 weeks is the number here. Their offense isn't that bad. I mean, they're averaging 24 points. They're averaging 440 yards of offense during a game. Like that should win you some more games. And I think when you do that, a team that Marshall is kind of struggling to find their identity here. They need to improve both offensively and defensively. I think this App State team is underperforming right now. And I think this is a bounce back game. It gets them into the win column. So give me App State +3. For my FCS lock, I'm going to take UC Davis, who's ranked 9th in the nation right now, against Portland State. A little Big Sky action, very similar to what Cole did. I think the Big Sky is, the premier FCS conference, maybe minus the Summit League. But I do think Montana, really raises the bar here. I think UC Davis does not get enough credit for how well they've been. They keep it rolling here against Portland State, who is less than ideal. My lock of the week is Louisville, boys. All right. Like I'm super high on Louisville. I've been high on Louisville all year. Tyler Show has been excellent. I did not watch the full game against Notre Dame. I like how close they kept it. That loss does not do much for me as far as how I view Louisville. I think this is a get-right game for them. They held their own against Notre Dame. They didn't do enough to win. They're a good team. They handle SMU here. So that's the card. I did go over 500 last week, so I'm happy about that, and I hope to keep it that way. I'm not at aggregate over 500 now, but I did have a card that went over 500 last week. So baby steps here, boys. Baby steps.
Love it. Great card. By the way, the Mets did close out the game. They went 4-2. Win the series 2-1. They go on to face Philadelphia in the division series. I said in the top of the show that the Mets are going to get knocked out of the playoffs. Give me all the shame I deserve for that. I love the Mets, but I'm just a typical Mets fan. So
you sure are.
Where did Pete Alonso go to college? LSU?
No, Florida.
I thought it was Balso
Hard Florida.
Nope.
Who's Florida playing this week?
Oh God.
Florida Gators.
Oh, they're playing UCF. I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Yep.
I looked at that pretty heavily, but
But yeah,
Give me
I'm
Florida
so happy
on
to eat my
upset.
words.
Give me
by the
Florida
way.
on an
I was
upset.
gonna say that.
Yeah, they're a dog, right? Florida's a home dog against
Florida
UCF.
plus 2.5. Give me the upset.
Fuck, I might have to hop in on that. That was a fringe bet for me.
One thing before we get into our game of the week that I really like on your card, Jake, is the Arizona State pick. Obviously, they lost their first game to Texas Tech in Big 12 play, but their resume is like sneaky good. I don't know. They blew out Wyoming. They beat Mississippi State. They beat Texas State in a kind of a close one. They're going up against Kansas this week, and then next week they go on to take right now number 18 Utah. What can they do? What do you want to see out of this Arizona State team this week against Kansas that you feel like you might want to take them against Utah?
I don't think I can take them against Utah, to be honest. But I don't know. My rationale here is like it was more. I hate to say that it wasn't anything that ASU did. It was more about what Kansas hasn't done, right? Like I just think they had this opportunity to start off really hot in Big 12 play, and in this, I don't know. They had a really good, like, strong schedule, in my opinion, to start the year. Like Lindenwood, sure, yeah, they blew them out of the water. That's their only win, though. I mean, they stacked it up with Illinois, UNLV, who knew, and then West Virginia, right? Those are all teams that, like, on paper, you should have beaten if you were this really good team, right? Like, that's my thought. And now I think Kansas is finally just getting exposed. And then TCU afterwards, they lost by 11. So I don't know. They are getting progressively worse in my eyes. It's just not a team I trust. And I think with ASU's resurgence, if you will, right, this becomes a pretty interesting proposition here. So that it was nothing really like, I don't know, if they blow them out, sure, that'll make me think twice before I bet Utah next week. I don't know that there's anything they can do that reverses that decision, though.
Absolutely. And that brings us right to our game of the week. Really interesting matchup here. SEC, we always love talking about the SEC. Number 9 Missouri versus number 25 Texas A&M. Missouri are the road dogs here, even though they are, that much higher in the rankings. Than the Aggies here. Could Missouri, be a sneaky contender for the SEC, and could they prove it here tonight or this weekend against Texas A&M?
I think this would be a statement win. I have them covering the 2.5. Do I think they are better than Texas, Tennessee, or Alabama? No.
I'm with you. I think Brady Cook has been excellent, right? He's having another great year. But I just don't what about this team has the juice? I'm not quite there besides Brady Cook, right? Like I don't think this is a top 5 team. They could play themselves in. It's kind of like Washington in a way, like where it's air raid. You're going to get a bunch of yards out of Cook. I think he's averaging, over 250 or something like that a game. And so you're good. What you're going to get from Brady Cook, but he's got the benefit of some really good athletic wide receivers. I liken it a lot to what Penix had with Rome Odunze and, the other weapons he had last year, like Jalen Polk and, those other guys. So that's kind of how I view Missouri. They could sneak in different circumstances, but I don't know, with this college football playoff, they might, it may be more true. I think that's objectively a good thing.
And I understand why they're the road dogs. I mean, but I'm not too impressed with Texas A&M. I mean, they're moving the ball fine, but they really aren't that explosive. They're not that great in the pass game. And you look at Missouri's defense. Yeah, it's not as great as it was last year, but I believe they're still, a top 5, top 10 defense overall. And they also play the zone. So it's like, if Texas A&M is going to have a struggle passing the ball, I like Missouri, at least covering the spread, if not winning it outright.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. And A&M, looking at some previews from Sports Illustrated and stuff today, I kind of like what I'm getting. like confirmation bias almost, but like I think a few things can be true. Number one is that Missouri hasn't, in my opinion, faced anyone with that is just athletic and physical as Texas A&M just yet. You know, like I don't know. Let's pull up their resume here. They've got so Vanderbilt, no way. Vanderbilt sucks. I shamed them, and that was one that did not hit last week. Boston College, all power to them. I do not think they were, Texas A&M's level of defense. Buffalo, you bet your ass I'm not on that train this year, even though they had their upset. And Murray State. So, like, yeah, you haven't played a defense like Texas A&M, who's come out and pitched a really good performance against some good teams. Like Florida, they held them to 20. Arkansas, they held them under 17. Right, Notre Dame, they lost, but they held them to 23. So this is a defense that'll make you pay. I look at expected points added for Texas A&M. You see the top 25 teams generally in that area. There's 66 on expected points added per play. And these defenses are like kind of soft that they've played too. Like no one stands out and you're like, wow, Texas A&M, that's a huge win. So that's kind of where, like, you have a good offense, like a really good offense in Missouri. You put them against this Texas A&M defense that is they have size, they have physicality, but they haven't performed like it. This to me is a recipe for Missouri to take them out. That's my thought.
And is this proof? So, like, looking at Missouri's resume, they've got 2 shutouts, but it's against Murray State and Buffalo, right? And then their other 2 wins are against Boston College and Vanderbilt. Right now, that Boston College win is probably the best win on their resume. So, do you feel like this is Missouri's, not their chance to show that they're a contender in the SEC, but a chance to, like, right now, I have them in my playoff field. Like, do they still need to prove that they can win a playoff game?
I think, this legitimizes them, if anything. Like, this is kind of the prerequisite. If you want to be taken seriously, then yeah, you got to win this game, right? And I think that affords them leniency to lose to Alabama potentially end of October, to maybe fumble one of Oklahoma, South Carolina, or Mississippi State later in the year, right? Like, you can maybe lose one of those games and still be okay, even if you lose to Alabama and you beat Texas A&M. So I think this legitimizes their case, and it affords them the opportunity to maybe have, a loss, like a not so great loss later on in the year and still be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So to get into the details of our picks, this is another one where I think all 4 of us, including Cole, if you're out there somewhere, we're sending you Morse code. We are all rocking with the Tigers. Cole and I both have them money line, and you and Jake, you and Tondo both have them against the spread. So go Tigers. That wraps up our show this week. Are there any other
wrong go Tigers, but that's okay.
Well, they are the Tigers. Are there any other games on this card that you guys that you guys are taking an interest to?
No, this is definitely one of the weaker weeks of college football, I would say. Obviously, next week has a ton of great matchups that I'm really looking forward to. Stuff that really sticks out to me. See how Georgia bounces back after their loss last week. I know they're playing a 2-3 Auburn team, but was it just a tough matchup against Alabama, or are there deeper problems there? Same with a team like Ole Miss. I think actually Ole Miss, South Carolina is actually a pretty good matchup. I know no one took that on their cards, but Ole Miss is -8.5 for South Carolina. Another great SEC matchup.
Is Ole Miss a fraud again? Am I back in that camp now?
No, they're frauds. They're fraudulent.
Wow. Fraudulent. See, I caught a lot of shit for saying that, and Cole gave me a lot of shit. I was an Ole Miss apologist, and now I might be right back.
Yeah.
I can't lose to Kentucky.
Rutgers, Nebraska. I know Cole had that on his card. Rutgers covering +7. I think that'll be a fun little game, especially with Dylan Raiola's brother, who is pretty much Jackson Mahomes 2.0, committing to the team. That's weird. I was like, you know what? You look up to your idols. You guys kind of look the same. Whatever. It's getting too weird for me now. We're living in a brain rot generation, and that is definitely showcasing it. But on the football field, I think Rutgers, they might be back. I
think Raio's fine.
I like that.
I think he's having fun.
If I'll add in Basil. I'm a little shocked at Michigan, Washington. Washington is a 1.5 point favorite at home. So I don't know if anyone is just shocked as me, but I do think, like, every part of me wants to say yes, confidently Michigan. I just lack that passion to pick Michigan here. I hope Washington beats them, truly.
Yeah, but I think it's like what we kind of, Michigan doesn't have a reason to not beat them. Like, I think it's more needed for Michigan to win than Washington in this case.
I would say so. Yeah. Michigan, there's more on the line. Absolutely.
There's more on the line.
And now weird that this is a Big Ten game too. Really weird.
One thing I would like to point out is I think this is, in terms of matchups, it's a little there's some really good ones, and then there's some kind of just like middle of the season kind of just padding out the schedule matchups. I do think we have officially, after this week, we are officially at the point of the year where we're done figuring out teams, right? And I think the big signifier of that is that there are 3 teams that with a win this week will be bowl eligible. Can any of you give me all 3 teams that will be bowl eligible with a win this week?
James Madison won?
No.
No.
UNLV?
Nope.
Is it like super obvious or?
Yeah, are we overthinking this?
You're kind of overthinking it, but I'm going to let you guys kind of flop around a little bit here.
Alabama.
Nope.
Wow.
Texas?
Nope.
Can you give me one conference?
Yeah, the Big Ten.
I mean, Ohio State. No.
Nope.
How?
You need 6 wins. You need 6 wins to be bowl eligible. So,
it's not Penn State, is it?
Nope, not Penn State. So Ohio State's 4-0. All those teams can be bowl eligible very quickly, but they are all 4-0. So the teams that can do it right now are Miami 5-0, Indiana 5-0, and that third team, another ACC team.
It's not Louisville.
I'm gonna give you 3, 2.
Wait.
Don't. Clemson. It's got to be Clemson.
No. It's
Clemson got lost, man.
It's
shit. That's right. Another ACC
Devils.
team.
The Blue Devils have 5
Duke.
wins.
Yes,
Duke.
What?
Yes.
Are they really first in the ACC right now?
They're 5-0. They're not first in the ACC,
God.
I don't think, because they don't have
they're second. Yeah,
the wins.
Oh,
They don't have like the ACC wins to be first. But yeah, they're 5-0.
Who they play?
I always forget about week 0 shit.
Oh, this is a cupcake. Elon, Northwestern, Connecticut, Middle Tennessee State, and North Carolina.
Yeah.
Oh, but they'll take them. Hey, if they, I'm sure they don't give a shit if they're who their wins are against if they're bowl eligible.
Yeah, they just got to get into a bowl game, man, and 6 wins will do that. So we hope plenty more teams get bowl eligible so we can start talking about that. And this is we're in the thick of it now. So that was another episode of the Football House on House Enterprise. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms that you can see scrolling down below. Make sure you check out house-enterprise.com for everything you need to know in the world of college football. We've got some great coverage of the Mets right now from Chris Hanold. Go Mets as they take on the Phillies this upcoming weekend. We've got some great NFL coverage from Jordan Lauby, Owen Brown, Zach Penrice. I mean, we've got a crazy bullpen of great writers. We've got some great college basketball stuff coming up later on this month. And so for Will Tondo, Jake Zimmer, Cole Hughes, I'm Sam Basil. This has been the Football House, and we'll see you guys next time.